to get it out to the far-flung municipalities. Because this, although hits Tacloban, the most populated city in the region, but we have municipalities in the far-flung areas that are similarly devastated. And yet there is no access to clean water, food, medication, or shelter. So we really need to help out in the distribution, in clearing the roads, the toppled power lines, with trees, debris, houses literally strewn across the pavements of the highways. So we just have to get that going. But short of that, I believe an airdrop in these various municipalities, cities is what's in order. Because we can't wait. People have gone out with almost 3 days without any clean water, food, and medication. People are getting desperate. There's an exodus out of the storm-ravaged areas, and people are just trying to make their way out. And it's causing a big jam on the main arteries that are used to actually get to these people. So it's gridlock in some areas. So we really need to get the food, the equipment, the medication, the shelters out to these people.
Well, we'll certainly do what we can to help promote that. It's obviously an ongoing, devastating situation over there. We've got details on screen now. If I can get hold of the Philippine Red Cross or email them, and please do help if you can. It's obviously a very urgent situation. And Cristina Romualdez and Marta Romualdez, thank you both very much indeed. And Cristina, I'm just so glad that you and your children are okay after all that. This is what it would look like if a storm like Haiyan struck America's east coast. Absolutely massive. So how worried should we be here? Joining me now in a head-to-head debate, Roy Spencer, a former NASA climate studies senior scientist, and Mark Hertsgaard. He's a journalist, author, and environmental correspondent for The Nation. Let me start with you, Dr. Roy Spencer. They're saying that this is the biggest recorded tropical cyclone that's ever been recorded in history. What does that tell us, coming on the back of Hurricane Sandy and other monster storms that we've seen? Is it really getting worse, or is this a predictable weather pattern that recurs from generation to generation?
Well, first of all, this wasn't the biggest. Probably Typhoon Tip from 1979 was the biggest in terms of sheer size and the lowest pressure in the center of the storm. This one was probably up near the top for the highest peak wind speeds. They really don't know because we've suspended the flights of aircraft, reconnaissance aircraft, into typhoons many years ago. So their estimates of the wind speeds in these systems is just based on the appearance of cloud top temperatures, which are reasonably accurate for this kind of storm. But I think there's going to be a debate over exactly how strong this storm was. But it was one of the strongest. Now, on the subject of can we expect worse storms, you know, the consensus of opinion in the meteorological community and in the climate research community is still out on that one as far as the effect on hurricanes and typhoons, because so far we really haven't seen a long-term trend. We thought we did in 2005, which was a very active year, and then since then, global cyclone activity has dropped off considerably, and we're near record lows globally. I mean, the news hasn't been reporting on the fact that we only had a couple of hurricanes this year in the Atlantic.
But Mark Hertsgaard, it's an ongoing debate. It's a very vocal debate on both sides as to whether climate change is playing a part in these monster storms. Many scientists believe it is. Many believe, though, that it's not, and that actually what you're seeing is no different to previous centuries. What is your view?
Well, my view is that of a journalist who interviews a lot of scientists, and I would beg to differ with you when you say that many scientists believe it is not. The fact of the matter is that there is an overwhelming scientific consensus that climate change is man-made, it's real, it's happening now, and that it is going to produce far more powerful storms as we go forward. Now, is it too soon? We don't know yet exactly how we will, the scientists will finally come out on this particular typhoon, how much of it was caused by global warming. But at this point in 2013, because global warming is so advanced, every weather event on the Earth has some relationship to that. And certainly all of the climate scientists and the consensus opinion that just came out again from the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change would lead us to expect exactly what we're seeing. Last year with Hurricane Sandy, now with Typhoon Haiyan, and on and on and on. We have overheated the atmosphere, and we're going to be seeing far stronger storms. How much of this storm was was because of global warming? Is it 10%? Is it 90%? That's something we need more scientific research into to find out. But to deny that there's some kind of a connection is, at this point, I think, very irresponsible.
Okay, let's play.
It does not do justice
I want to play
the terrible suffering we're seeing on the air right now on your program.
Well, indeed. And let's play a clip here from George Clooney, the actor, who was talking about this today.
If you have 99% of doctors who tell you you are sick and 1% that says, you're fine, you probably want to hang out with them, check it up for the 99, you know what I mean? The idea that we ignore that we're in some way involved in climate change is ridiculous. What's the worst thing that happens? You know, we clean up the earth a little bit.
Dr. Roy Spencer, final word to you. I mean, isn't that a good point? You can overcompensate, but what's the problem with that? Isn't undercompensating, underreacting, denying climate change in the end more dangerous?
Well, even though I'm a skeptic, I don't know of anyone that denies climate change. The climate has always changed. George Clooney's analogy to medical issues, I think, is misplaced because we have millions of examples of diseases that we've studied, that we know when they occur, what causes them, how to cure some of them, how not to cure some of them. In the case of global warming, we have one patient, the Earth. The Earth is a little warmer right now. We're not exactly sure whether it's 100% due to mankind or 50% due to mankind, 50% due to nature, and by chance, today we had a new
Spencer,
paper.
that is not true, sir. That is not true. You are misstating the
Which
facts.
part
As a
is not
scientist,
true,
you
Mark?
should not do that, sir. To say that we don't know, listen to what the IPCC just said in its report, that humankind's activities are now responsible for most of this. I frankly don't know why, Dr. Spencer. I believe that you don't even agree that climate change is man-made. Last time I checked. If you've revised your position, I'd love to hear about it.
Well, you're wrong about that.
Talk
I
about
believe
climate
that we
change.
don't know. I don't believe
That
that we
man-made
know
climate
how much
change,
is
you
man-made
reject
versus
that 99. So you stand against the 97% of scientists who say this. And Pierce, I have to tell you, as a journalist, you know, we don't talk to tobacco scientists anymore when we do cigarette stories. I don't think that we should be talking to climate deniers about climate stories. That is journalistically irresponsible.
Mark, did you know I'm one of the 97% you're talking about? Because that 97% statistic included people who believe that some portion of climate change is man-made. And I do believe some portion of it is.
You think it's a very small portion, sir. Do you deny that you stand in opposition to the overwhelming scientific consensus on this? If so, you need to read more scientific papers, sir.
I got a feeling I've read more than you have, Mark.
Well, I suspect you have, but I think I've interviewed a lot more scientists than you have, sir. And it is,
I think based on your job, I know which kind of scientist you interview because your job depends on you interviewing the kind on one side of the story.
See, this is the conspiracy thinking that you must retreat to in order to say in the year 2013 that climate change is not man-made, happening now and causing great suffering in the Philippines. Great suffering. And we have not dealt with this for 20 years because of this kind of nonsense, talking about how there's no human fingerprints on this. That is not what 97% of the scientists on this planet say. And Pierce, I repeat, journalistically, this is malpractice to have on somebody pretending that this is 50% and 50% when nobody in the scientific community takes the view that climate change is not related
well, look, it's an interesting debate.
storms.
I think it's actually journalistic malpractice to not have a fair debate, actually, with all respect to you, Mark Hertsgaard. But thank you very much for the lecture on journalism. Dr. Roy Spencer and Mark Hertsgaard, thank you both very much. When we come back, a storm brewing in Washington over Obamacare and later